Okay, let's try this then. With very little planning or forethought, I figured I would start a bit of a stream making some WeakAuras and maybe teaching a few basics on how to do advanced WeakAura stuff. So the plan right now is to start making a TSU, a trigger state updater. And I thought probably the easiest way to just get some info into a TSU to display it is just going to be getting nameplates and displaying those. So let's get going. We'll make a group first of all. In fact, we'll make a dynamic group first of all, and maybe later we'll change it so that we actually position things ourselves, but first of all we'll get WeakAuras to do all the positioning, so we'll just make a basic group. And then in it we'll make a progress bar and drag it into our group. And here we go. So it's custom trigger state updater is the type. So to get this thing off the ground, let's just make it an every frame thing. So every time your game refreshes the screen with new information, just basically your FPS, it's going to be going through the code that we put in. So pretty inefficient. Maybe we can tidy it up later, but initially let's just get it off the ground. Trigger state update is all custom, so you're going straight into the code. And as ever with Lua, you open with function and you close with end, and everything in between is going to be doing your stuff. And so, what's our plan for this? We're going to be iterating through nameplates and displaying them. It's basically the stuff we're getting. It can be a total of 40 nameplates possible, and there can be gaps, so you could have nameplate 1 created, nameplate 2, nameplate 3, nameplate 4, and then nameplate 2 and 3 get removed. Nameplate 4 will stay where it is. So basically we can't afford to just do a while loop where we stop looping as once we don't find something. We've got to go through all 40. Or you can ask the game for the table of all the nameplates, but we'll just go with this for now. So we're making a unit. It's going to be called nameplates, and then we're going to take the number from the 1 through 40 there. So the unit will be nameplate 1 or whatever. And we'll check if it exists. And if it does, then we'll make the TSU itself. TSUs are basically, it's a way of you give all the information that WeakAuras then needs to go and make a clone of whatever ore you're making. So we've made a progress bar. We give WeakAuras all the info it needs to make a progress bar, and then it goes ahead and clones it up for us. We do that by taking the all states table that WeakAuras passes into this function for us, and we'll add a subtable to that table with all our stuff in it. So this is basically adding a subtable using the unit here as the key in that table, and we've made a blank table currently. But actually we'll throw information in it straight away. And I might as well drag in the wiki. So in the WeakAura 2 wiki, we've made this page for TSU stuff. It's got all the information you need. And we're going to be going through some of that today, but since it's already written there, I'll be copying a bunch of stuff out of this page myself. So there's some stuff that this table just requires. To update anything, it's always going to need changed equals true. If we want it to show, then we need show equals true. And worth noting that WeakAuras will remove anything from the all states table if show is set to false. And we'll give it a progress type of static, because we're going to make this a health bar for the unit itself. And that needs a value and a total. And so actually, let's grab that information up here. And I type terribly, so I always try and check where I can. Saves debugging it later. But there we go, so we've put into local health and max health, and we've grabbed it from the API functions, so we can put those into the TSU. We're not going to do any sorting, so we don't need resorts, and it's not a progress, so we don't need auto hide. Let's give it a name. We'll also grab that up here. So let's separate these out so that it's not so cluttered. And whenever we're making a TSU, we should always return true the whole time, because we'll be managing whether the all states table has anything in it or not, whether that'll display. So this whole trigger needs to return true so that the regular WeakAura's output will recognize it and go ahead and use this. Basically, clones are the dynamic information for this trigger. If you had multiple triggers in this aura and you had dynamic information being sent from a different one, then all the clones would disappear and you'd just get the dynamic information from that other trigger. So pretty much always return true. There's very few occasions where you wouldn't return true from a TSU. Looks like we've got some red text there. Let's see what it says. Line 8 near value. Didn't put a comma in. So this way of constructing tables, always have your commas in. You don't need it on the last one, but you can put it in and it doesn't matter. So probably a good habit to get into, just always put commas. The one other thing we need to do is, we'll clear this all states table each frame before we make new ones. And I'll copy this out of the wiki just to save me typing it. But this iterates over everything in all states. Changes show to false, change to true. So that will then update and remove everything from the table. So basically this will mean that if we had nameplate 1 and 2 showing, and then nameplate 2 gets removed, without this first little snippet, it would never get removed. we'd have it stay there forever showing false information. The other option would be to go through and anything that's not there, try and remove it. But really it's much easier to just iterate through everything, remove everything, and then set up the new ones. So let's see what we get. Maybe it's going to work. There we go. And I'll put it somewhere a bit more easy to see. Let's make it a bit bigger as well. Whoops. And we can see here that it's taken the information that we put in, the name and the value and stuff. And because progress bars default to having %n in left and %p in right, it's already putting that in. So, got something working, but it's pretty inefficient. It'll be just doing it every single frame going through. Actually, let's just check that it does update health values. Yeah. So next job, let's try and make this a bit more efficient, and we'll do that by using events rather than just having it run everything every single frame. We'll separate it out into some events. I just thought actually I set up a zoom, might make it a bit easier to see what I'm doing. So we'll take it off every frame, we'll put it onto an event, and the game has events for nameplates being added and removed. Nameplate unit added, and nameplate unit removed. But planning ahead, that will update things when they're added and removed, but it won't track things like health changes. So we're probably going to need to do some stuff, maybe every frame, or maybe we can use unit health as the event. So we'll be using these events to do the adding and removing, so we don't need this bit anymore at all. And again, I'll drag a browser over. This is the events page. On Wikipedia, I guess it doesn't include nameplate stuff. So, I guess, I don't know, I can't remember where I picked these events up. It might have been from just looking at the event log. But so when we're passing events through to a TSU, all states will always be the first argument that's passed into any TSU function. After that will be the event and any args the event sends. I'm pretty sure that it sends the unit as the first arg of that event, so we'll go with this. And so we won't need to do the iteration. We can do if the event is one being added, and I guess we can leave in the unit exists check. It really shouldn't be needed because it's being added right there, but we'll leave it in for now. And if it's been added, it creates it like that. And if the event is it being removed, then we can reference that same state in all states, which is going to be that, and set show to false, and change to true. Just thinking through, have I missed anything? Let's find out. It definitely won't be updating health values. We've not done anything with that yet, but hopefully it will track them being added and removed. There we go. See, as we move that second one on and off the screen, it's picking it up. So now you'll notice when I first closed WeakAura's there, let's do it again, it's not picking these up. There's no events being fired as we close WeakAura's to add those nameplates in. But we can cover that. There's a few different ways of tackling this. I recently did a bit of a sneaky way, which I'll use now, because why not? And that is, if you use a status, custom status trigger in WeakAura's, then what that does is it will fire on the events that you give it, but also whenever you load into the game or close WeakAura's, it will fire a pseudo event with no information, basically just to check that status. So if you were checking what your target was or something, you could do a status thing, and then as you close WeakAura's, it would go and check, it would run your code even though there hadn't been an event for the unit changing. And because we don't actually want to do anything with this other than have it fire when we close WeakAura's, we don't need a real event. But in here we'll get WeakAura's to throw an event of our own choosing, and it doesn't need to return true. We'll change this to any, because this is never going to return true. We can't have it included in our overall activation. And this will basically do nothing other than each time you close WeakAura's or load into the game, it will fire this an event with this name. So if we go back to trigger 1 now, our TSU, we can add in this random name. And now I'm wishing I hadn't gotten rid of all that other code, because this is basically like the every frame thing that we had before. So if the event is this, then we do want to do this iteration again. We can just copy this bit though. If I've not made any mistakes, let's find out. There we go. So at this point we've got something that pardon me, that when we close WeakAura's grabs any nameplates, and then as we move around the world it keeps updating with any new ones that are added or any other ones that get removed. But it won't track any health changes. We can Just prove that quickly. Nothing going on with these bars at all right now. But we did before add in unit health to these events that are being sent into the function. So if the event is unit health, now I'm hoping that that event also sends the units as the first arg. Looks like it does on Wikipedia. So we don't need to iterate either on this. That event will send something. I'm hoping it sends all nameplate units as well. So we can again just grab the unit, all states unit, because that's the ID of the state. Actually, we'll do that in a second. First of all, we'll grab the info. So unit.value is the health. And total is the max. Let's see if this updates now. No. Okay. So let's find out why. Maybe it's not firing that event for nameplates. That would be my guess, actually. Maybe it's just for bigger units than that. But let's test this by just throwing a print in there. Let's just see what units are firing a unit health event. So okay, we are getting nameplate 1 throwing up some values. So is it just something that I've messed up? Let's have a look. Nope, still a little bit mystified. Let's find out. So that's printing out a bunch of values. It's printing twice for each one because it's target and nameplate. But nameplate 1 should be one of these. Okay. So what I've not done is added in the changed to true. So basically WeakAura was never being told to actually update with these new values. I was setting them in the table, but never telling WeakAura to go and do it. There we go. It's more like it. So you can see the values changing there on the bar. So we've got nameplates. They get added and removed as new things appear and go away. What else do we want to do? Well, class colouring might be a thing. We might want to add power bars. I suppose you might want to colour by the amount of health being lost or gained. You might want to highlight your target. See, maybe that's an interesting one to add. Yeah, let's give this a go. Okay, so there's an event, player target changed. Which we'll use. And each time we change the target, we will iterate through all the states. And there's an API unit is unit for just comparing two things to see if they're the same. So is nameplate 1 the same as target or whatever. And we'll actually use this as an example of adding a custom field to one of our states. So WeakAura itself doesn't do anything with a target. So we'll add it to our main table up here. And we'll make it false. But here we'll make it true. One too many. We also need to add it here. Actually, on the iterator bit, if we need to do this on all of them. So let's take this if unit is unit bit. And we'll do this is a bit of lower syntax, which I don't know if it translates very well to other languages, but it checks for the truthiness of this statement, and if it's true then it sets the value to the first, if not then the second. And so actually now this can be the value that we made here. Copy that and throw it into these other ones as well. Okay, I think that's right. So WeakAura isn't doing anything with this. It will just completely ignore the fact that there's a field called target, which is a Boolean truth or false in there. It won't do anything with it, but we can do something with it. And what we do is kind of up to us. But shall we do an animation? Yeah, why not? So we're actually not going to animate anything. Oh no, let's animate the colour. Why not? So we'll make our target white and everything else will be red. Can remove all of this because we're not going to actually have it changing. If ORM state is a quick way to just check that there is stuff going on, if you just started asking, is ORM state target something, then when the trigger isn't actually fired, you'll get a load of errors coming up. So that state that we had in all states, called by the name of the unit, is seen throughout the whole rest of the WeakAura as the ORM state. And so if this particular clone has this target set to true, then we'll return the secondary values from this animation. And if not, then we'll return primary values, which is the red. I see red text. What have I forgotten? Equals expected near end. Oh, I'm an idiot. So that is our target. We're not unsetting that target then when we change it. So we need to also add in back to the trigger. So this is when the target changes. We need to add in an else. There we go. And let's call that a decent first little primer on TSU stuff for now. If anyone watches this and has a load of questions, because I've probably just skipped over a whole load of stuff that is really required to understand what's going on with TSUs, please do ask questions either on the stream chat or on Discord. And I should probably take a moment just to pimp the WeakAura's Discord, which is discord.gg/WA2. It's the official WeakAura's Discord, and if you ever need to know anything about WeakAura's, how to get stuff working, how to get stuff set up, that's the place to go and ask. But I'll end this video here. Feel free to ask any questions. Cheers.